Oh, you know that if you eat a plant-based diet and you're traveling, it can be really challenging to find something healthy to eat. But today we have a dietitian with the tips and tricks to take the pain away, my friends. It's going to be plant-based on the go right here on the exam room. Welcome to the Exam Room Live, brought to you by the Physicians Committee. Hello, I'm the weight loss champion, Chuck Carroll. Thanks so very much for watching and downloading in more than 150 countries around the world and making the Exam Room one of the most consumed nutrition podcasts anywhere on the planet today. And as I said, if you eat plant-based, finding something healthy to eat can be a challenge on the road, especially in airports where options are often limited to a bag of nuts and a bottle of water. But the good news is that in a lot of ways, things are seemingly improving, and we are going to hear all about them today as we are joined for the very first time by a wonderful dietitian and my colleague, Xavier Toledo, who has spent months researching the most plant-based friendly airports in the U.S., as well as talking to hundreds of travelers about what it is they're doing to eat healthy and what it is that they're looking for in these airports. We're going to dive into a survey that we conducted with our friends at Morning Consult as well to get travelers' opinions. But I'm really curious about Xavier's tips and tricks. And today, if you're watching Exam Roomies, I would love for you to post your tips and tricks in the comments and in the chat for us as well. So let's kind of crowdsource the knowledge and everything that we have learned. But with that, let's go ahead and welcome Xavier to the show, my friend, for the very first time, dietitian extraordinaire. How you doing, Xavier?
Good. I'm excited. How about you?
I'm good too, man. You have spent a lot of time looking at these airports, and obviously, we did the survey, speaking to hundreds and hundreds of travelers about the things that they're looking for in the airport. But let's go ahead and start with, just out of curiosity, what is the most plant-forward airport in the U.S. that we have discovered?
That is a really good question. And I kind of want to ask you, what would you guess?
I mean, so knowing what I do about L.A., I would have to say LAX. Been through that airport many times and have never had a problem. So that would be my guess.
You are exactly correct. That is what I guessed as well. And no surprise, LAX has amazing plant-based options. So they are definitely leading the way when it comes to plant-based options at airports.
So when you were looking at these airports, like I would imagine with all of the different restaurants and, news outlets where they sell the snacks and things like that, it took a lot of time to go airport by airport and look at these things. How much time did you actually spend? How long did it take you to comb through all of these airports and find the plant-based options?
That is also a really good question, because when we first came up with this idea, we're like, this could take a long time because, as you said, there's so many eateries at these airports, be it restaurants or these kiosks or these grab-and-go markets. So luckily, we were able to lean on data from a website called Veggle. And I might be mispronouncing it, but it's spelled Vegg capital L. So I'll call it Veggle. But basically, they offer a whole lot of guides when it comes to how to navigate eating plant-based at chain restaurants. But then also they have airport guides. So they have a whole bunch of guides for how to eat plant-based at different airports. And when we found this data from Veggle, we were like, we have to team up here, because these guides exist already, but we wanted to take it a step further. And we wanted to focus on healthy plant-based options at these airports. What would we as PCRM dietitians and employees eat if we were at these airports? So that was a really good just launch point, using the data from the airport websites, using the data from Veggle, and going from there when it comes to figuring out what we would eat at these airports.
And we're going to talk more about the U.S. airports in just a second, but I know that Karen Price is joining us. She's a regular roomie and she's watching over in Germany. I'd be really curious to know if internationally travelers might have a different experience where it's not just like LAX or bust or, maybe things here and there in airports. Like, is there a lot more options internationally than there would be here in the US? I also see that I hope that I'm pronouncing this name right. Ingborg is watching right now on YouTube as well. They say in Wellington Airport, there is a Beelim Cafe that is vegan. So that's awesome that there's a straight up vegan cafe somewhere. So I'm not exactly sure which Wellington they may be referring to, but that definitely sounds promising, no?
Absolutely. That sounds delicious.
All right, so we've got LAX, and then we teamed with Bagel. So LAX was at the top of the list. What are some of the other plant-based friendly airports that made the list?
Yeah, so we focused this report on the top 5 busiest airports in the US. So out of those, we have LAX, we have Atlanta International, we have Chicago O'Hare, we have Denver International. And these were, I would say that some were definitely more plant-based friendly than others, but we were able to find plant-based options at all of them, even if the variety of options wasn't the same as LAX, for example. So places like Atlanta International had great options. Um, I would say that Denver also had a lot of great options, not as many options, but the things that we did see were really thoughtfully crafted plant-based entrees at Denver International. And unfortunately, I would say that Chicago is kind of at the, not, I don't want to say bottom, but out of those options, we didn't quite find as many as we did at LAX, for example, compared. So yeah.
Oh no, Chicago. Chicago, I know that like Chef Dustin Harder and some of our other colleagues spent a lot of time up in Chicago. I'm kind of heartbroken that O'Hare didn't do any better.
I know, I would hope the same, but yeah, options, but not quite as many.
Yeah. I know locally when I fly out of Washington, D.C., 9 times out of 10, I'm flying out of Reagan National, and they now have a Cava there, which is very, very, very helpful. And that's kind of a go to. And the funny thing is, right across the aisle there, or right across, I don't know what I don't even know what you would call it there at the airport. The concourse. That's the word I'm looking for. Forgive me. Right
Mm.
across the concourse, they have a burger joint and a pizza joint, but the line at the Cava seems to always be longer than at the standard American diet type restaurants. That surprises me, but at the same time, it doesn't, based upon what it is that we found with what travelers are seeking in the survey that we did.
That's a really good point because when we conducted this survey, we found out a number of shocking, in a good way, results. So, first and foremost, we found out that over half of US travelers that are going through these airports are taking advantage of the food and beverage options at the airport. And among these US travelers, we also found out that over half of them are interested in trying healthy options when they're traveling, but they have difficulty doing so. So that really just made it clear to us that a lot of people are interested in eating healthy while they're on the go, but they're unfortunately struggling when it comes to this. And that was one of our first just indications that maybe we should be making a report or a resource to help people eat healthy while they're on the go. But of course, being the physicians committee, we wanted to make it plant-based. So we wanted to see how many people that are looking to eat plant-based would be interested in eating healthy plant-based options. And we found that over half of those people said that they would be interested in trying healthy plant-based options if they were available at airports. And I think the last shocking piece of information, shocking in a good way, is that among frequent travelers, so those that are traveling 4+ times in US airports per year, 71% of those people said that they would try healthy plant-based options. So it really is no surprise that the line of Cava is so long because there seems to be a lot of interest when it comes to this.
Yeah, that is very surprising to me, and I think that travel by itself, I don't know why it's so exhausting because essentially all you're doing is walking to a gate and then sitting on a plane and then flying for hours to whatever your destination is. But for whatever reason, it's just so draining. And then if you add like heavy, high fat, high calorie, high salt, high sugar meals on top of that, you're going to go into a food coma. So if I'm a traveler, which I am, I'm always looking for something that's going to keep my energy up as opposed to drag me down. Just hypothesizing here, do you think that that could be part of the reason why people are searching out these healthier options?
I I feel like that could definitely be a factor in this because like we're talking about, these healthier plant-based options are going to make you feel good. They're going to give you sustained energy. They're not going to drag you down when you're going through these exhausting travel days. So I think that could definitely be a big factor here.
I wonder demographically also, we see a lot of based off of income and that kind of thing, the type of diet that a person eats. So when we're looking at the travelers who had a high preference for healthy meals, were we able to match that to their household income?
That is a good question. So I think the most telling piece of information when it comes to this is that this was a random assortment of people. Like this wasn't a group of, people that have matched demographics or a group of plant-based eaters. This was just a random assortment of 2,000 plus people. And we still got this information that we got when it comes to there's a high preference, a high desire for eating healthy plant-based options. So that was really encouraging.
I would think so. I think so. And I think that by and large, we're starting to slowly but surely kind of turn the tide in a lot of ways in terms of our health, as we are seeing more and more people seek out these healthy options regardless of their income status. So I'm hoping that this brings a new opportunity for a lot of healthy entrepreneurs who want to feed what seems to be a really hungry market that is being right now severely underserved in a lot of airports. I mean, you just mentioned that Chicago really scored kind of low in terms of the top five there. I would think that that would be one. And I think that knowing what I do about this market here in the DC area, if you were to put in some other healthy eating options, those things would explode too. Maybe, Xavier, here's what we're going to do. We're going to pool our money together, my friend. That's what we'll do. And we'll open up a spot. No?
I think that's a great idea.
I'm just saying. I'm just saying. I want to ask you about your specific tips and tricks here in a little bit as well. But first, let's see if we can help out Trisha, the truck driver, right now. She's joining us. Hopefully, she's not driving at the same time. But at 12:04, she said, "I am a truck driver. My options are these: bring your own food. That's it." So I think that that is really sage advice for a lot of people. Not always the easiest thing to do when you're going through airport security. In terms of bringing your own food, Xavier, what are the kind of things that you might suggest here?
Yeah, that's a really good point about airport security. And honestly, you can get a good amount of things by in airport security without having to worry about the rules and regulations. So if you're ever curious, you can go on the TSA's website and they have a whole section called "What Can I Bring?" essentially. And there's like 6 pages of just all the food items and beverage items that you can bring. Can't really bring beverages unless they're frozen, fun fact. But you can bring a whole lot of things through security. So you just have to make sure that you're following those guidelines that are listed on the website.
I think that I've told this story before, but we work with somebody who is notorious for packing sweet potatoes on the go and maybe even putting them in a fanny pack while they're out taking a walk, which I think is the funniest daggone thing ever. I wonder if a sweet potato is something you could get past airport security. I don't know. I don't know.
I don't know. People get really creative. One thing that I saw someone do, or I heard from someone, is that they make their smoothie, they freeze it, and they bring that through airport security because it's frozen. So you can take a frozen liquid through it, and then they defrost it and they have it on the plane. I'm like, that is creative and that is commitment. And I'm here for that. I like that.
That is well done. I
Right?
like that. I wonder what their trick is to thaw it fast enough so that they can drink it. Cause I mean, it's got to be awfully frozen. I mean, frozen solid to get through TSA.
That's
So
what I
I
mean.
wonder like how they thaw it out. Do they like reconstitute it with a little bit of hot water once they get through? I don't know. I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know.
What
I
to
have a
ask?
question from Elsie, who's watching right now, 12:07 on YouTube. Hi, Chuck. I'm a musician preparing to go on tour in the early spring. Well, rock on, my friend. What advice does your guest have about staying nourished on a plant-based diet while away for an extended period of time?
Mm, it's a really good question. I, if you can control this, I'm always looking for Airbnbs when I go away because I love to have my own kitchen. I love to just be able to prepare my food as I would if I was home, go to the local markets. I'm kind of a nerd like that. If I'm in a different country, I'll go to the grocery store as like a destination just to check out what they have. But really ensuring that you have a place that you can prepare these meals and honestly save money. It's great to go out and try out the local restaurants and eateries, but if you can find a place that allows you to prepare your own food, that's, I think, my top tip that I give people when it comes to staying plant-based and healthy when they're away.
Wow.
But then beyond that, if you did want to go experience the eateries in wherever you are, I would take advantage of resources like Veggle, for example, to see their guides on how to eat plant-based at certain chain restaurants, or even Happy Cow. I love Happy Cow. I took a break from Happy Cow for a while, but I came back this year and I'm like, oh my gosh, what have I been missing? This is amazing. It's, if you don't know, a platform that has an app and a website, and you can go on there and you can see all of these plant-based options in whatever area you are. So you could be in another country, another state, and you can just see a whole list of whatever there is. If it's a completely vegan restaurant, a restaurant that's not vegan but has vegan options, you can add your own input. You can review places and add, like, I saw this entree, and you can post a picture. And it's really just a lovely community of just crowdsourced data on how to eat plant-based in different areas around the world. So yeah, I'd recommend that as well, just doing your research.
Yeah, big fan of Happy Cow. Interviewed the founders of that one time, and that was early on in the show. We did a couple of episodes at an event out in LA, maybe the first season of the show, and those guys just happened to be there, and it was a fascinating story to see how all of that came about. Update from Elsa here. She says, unfortunately, I think I'll be in a standard hotel room as opposed to an Airbnb the chunk of the time. So that could make things a little bit more difficult. I remember interviewing Megan Duhamel, who is an Olympic medal winning ice skater in Canada. And she was saying that for international competitions, one of the things that she does is make overnight oats in her hotel room. And that's the easiest thing to make in the world. You don't need any sort of fancy much of anything in order to do it. And she said, just I would make sure that I packed a whole bunch of oats or had oats shipped there ahead of time. And that's what she would do. So she always had a healthy, nourishing option there. So hopefully that could help. Anything else that you could add to Elsa there?
That's a really good just idea, because this reminds me a lot of when I talk to a lot of college students who, unfortunately, their schools didn't have a lot of plant-based options, and they only were working with a mini fridge and a microwave, which I assume a lot of hotel rooms have. And you can get really creative with things that you can do without a full-blown kitchen, like those overnight oats, like chia pudding. Like you can get really creative there. So I'd recommend looking up recipes that you can make without a full kitchen and going from there.
100. The things that you learn in college that aren't necessarily part of the curriculum, but these are life's lessons that stay with you every day for your entire life. Very good stuff there. We were talking about Cava a little bit and how that's at Reagan National. Bob Gale at 1209 is wondering whether Cava is actually better than eating the standard American diet. I suppose it depends on what it is that you order, right?
I would say so. Yeah, you can definitely get super healthy there. And they are very good when it comes to labeling what's vegan and what's not. And when I go, I just kind of point to anything that's vegan and I say, put it on my plate because it's delicious. But yeah, I would say that compared to what a lot of people get at fast food restaurants, fast casual restaurants, you can definitely do better than the standard American diet at Cava pretty easily.
Yeah, no question about it. And if you have a Whole Foods, or even I've seen it now, their brand of hummus carried in regular grocery stores as well. Let me tell you something. That is by far my favorite hummus in the entire world. Is just the Cava hummus is absolutely mouth-watering delicious. I don't know what these guys do to make it so daggone tasty, but it's a very simple list of ingredients, and man, it is magic in the mouth. Magic.
So good. If I'm not mistaken, I think it's oil free. Is that correct? I have to double check.
100% is. There's tahini in there, so if you're trying to keep your fat low, like that's something to think about. But yeah, it is oil free. And I wasn't even looking necessarily for an oil free hummus. It just happens to not have any. So win-win.
Right. Exactly. So good. I love Cava.
Let's see. Video 1000 Nights. Does Xavier at 1215, does Xavier have any suggestions to help a parent make sure a teenager gets enough protein if the teenager thinks if that teenager doesn't like tofu? All right. Now, this isn't necessarily a travel question, but let's say that the teen is in high school and you're sending them to school with a lunch. They don't like tofu. What do they do?
That is a good question. So I think I want to start this question with just setting the the I want to make sure that people know that all plant-based foods have protein. So as long as you're eating a well-balanced diet, you're getting an adequate amount of calories, you should be fine when it comes to protein. We don't really see protein deficiency here in our country often, which is very great. So as long as you're getting enough calories and you're having a well-balanced diet, your teen should be fine. But beyond tofu, there are so many other options if you want to have a really protein-packed protein source, plant-based protein source. So you could go with nuts, for example. You can go with hummus, like we're just talking about. I love edamame. Edamame is a great thing to try. A lot of legumes. Like you can really get creative when it comes to getting a protein source that's plant-based.
Oh man, look at this. Roxina at 1217 watching on YouTube. This is a travel pro right here. She says, I now travel with a mini blender, NutriBullet kind of deal. It's a 1.5 liter smoothie that helps a lot. I also do a lot with work travel and use it in hotels. I mean, if you're carrying a blender with you on the road, you've got this whole travel, eating healthy thing down pat, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. I'm glad you brought this up because I actually saw that people do this. I was like, I don't know why I didn't think of this, but a little mini NutriBullet blender, bring that when you're traveling. That's amazing. I love smoothies when I'm at home. So I'm like, why not do this? That's a really great idea, Roxina.
Yeah, man, that's A plus effort right there.
Oh,
Tell your
yeah.
boss that you deserve a raise. Xavier and Chuck say so. All right, Loretta joining us on Facebook, also at 1217. What are your favorite travel foods, Xavier?
What are my favorite travel foods?
So if you're packing
Mhm.
a to-go bag and you are the one who's flying that day, what's in the bag?
What's in the bag? I'm a real big trail mix kind of guy. I love to get my trail mix. I love granola. I am a really big trail mix person. When it comes to, I feel like I also go above and beyond. I get like sandwiches because at first I was a little concerned about bringing food through TSA, but I did a lot of traveling last year and I discovered that you can basically sneak through anything. And I pack sandwiches, hummus, I spread it on there, put some veggies, put on a nice piece of whole wheat bread, and I bring that on board. Um, I love packing. I'm a big peanut butter person, so I love packing some peanut butter and dipping in some apples, some sliced apples. So I really go all out when it comes to what I bring through TSA nowadays on planes.
That's well played. So no problem getting the sandwich with the hummus or the peanut butter through. All good there.
All good. Yeah.
All right. Good deals. Yeah. Sometimes like I've been known to carry those little packages of peanut butter that have like 200 calories worth and you can just rip it off and either put it on a sliced apple like you say, or sometimes I'll have a banana in my bag and I'll put that on there too. Or I'll just eat it straight if I don't have anything else. And man, you know, peanut butter is so good. I try though, man, not to do a lot with that peanut butter because once it hits your lips, like that's a game over kind of deal for me. Like I have a real hard time controlling my peanut butter habit, man. It's a
I,
thing.
I love peanut butter. I had to, for a while, my post-workout smoothie was a peanut butter and banana smoothie, but I would add so much peanut butter to it. And I'm like, I'm kind of like canceling out my workout because peanut butter can be really high in calories. So I ended up switching to powdered peanut butter, and that's what I add into my smoothies because I can really load it up and not add too much fat to it. And that's been a game changer. And it's been really satisfying my peanut butter craving.
Yeah, and I'll give a shout out to there's PB Fit 2, which has just ground peanuts, but then there's also a brand called Crazy Richards, which is amazing. They have just peanut powder, which is that's the best tasting that I found so far. Free plug, you can get it on Amazon.
Yeah.
Let's see here. All right. Boy, you want to talk about a travel pro as well. Thylakoids are go. At 1222, I travel with my Vitamix and take Medjool dates for snacks. Man, all right. So now you've got the Vitamix and you've got the king of dates, the Medjool date. That is also a seasoned traveler.
Oh,
Dates
yeah.
make great, easy travel snacks too, don't they?
Absolutely. It's definitely, dried fruits are great because they're very easy to travel with and they have a good amount of calories packed in. So if you can go with a hand fruit like a apple or a banana and get, a light snack. But if you want some more calories, the dried fruits and the nuts, that can sustain you on a longer flight, for example, or a longer car ride. So, yeah.
Yeah. Are you the kind of guy that gets tired by travel too? Like going back to what it was we were talking about earlier, wanting that little boost to keep your energy up during the day or during the travel?
That's a good question. I previously wasn't someone who would consider myself, exhausted by travel. Like didn't I don't enjoy traveling. But I did go to Europe for the first time earlier this year and experiencing that longer plane ride, and I was doing a lot of buses and trains. Like that was pretty exhausting. It was fun. Very happy I went to Europe, but a lot of just long travel days.
Yeah, man, I got you. What part of Europe did you go to?
That was quite the trip. So we went to Amsterdam, Brussels, Paris, then we went around Italy. It was really fun. But once again, that's what I mean by all these buses and planes like that. I saw how someone can be exhausted by travel, but a
Yeah.
really good experience.
That's a heck of an itinerary there.
Oh yeah.
Edith in the chat right now, just throwing in a couple of cents here. I doubt the MYR airport. Not exactly sure where that is. I'd have to look it up. But she says that she doubts that they will let you take the peanut butter. She says that they once took a tiny sealed container of almond butter. So I
Hmm.
don't know. But
Yeah.
I saw somebody posted a link to the TSA website with the do's and the don'ts and what you can and cannot bring on board. So go ahead and click on that. I think that would be good. Plant story. I don't think that a date is a dried fruit, is it? Now, this is a good question. Is the dates as we know them, is the date as we know it, the ones that come in the containers, is that a dried fruit?
I would think so, but maybe not technically. I know that food has these rules sometimes where it's by definition this, but it's colloquially known as this. So I don't know. I think I consider it a dried fruit, but maybe not.
All right, man. Let's wind things up here, or wind things down, I should say, with the final tip here. Not so much about airports, but let's say that somebody this holiday season is packing it up in the car. Everybody's loading in there and going to grandma's house for the holidays. I would think, well, I know for a fact that keeping it healthy in that case is going to be a lot easier, but. Let's talk about some things that somebody might want to try if they're just, loading up in the car and, driving 5, 6, 7 hours, however long that trip may be.
Yeah, so luckily we have some more flexibility when it comes to how much we can actually pack. We're not limited to, a carry-on and one bag and this and that. So if we're utilizing coolers, it's kind of game over with what we can pack in there. We can have, a freezer pack to keep some nice fruits nice and cold, like grapes, for example. I love grapes when I'm traveling. I go for a lot of finger foods. You can go with full size containers now, so you can have a full hummus pack, and you can put that in here, and you can have some, chopped up veggies that you can dip in there, some pretzels. You can go with some nut butters as well. You don't have to worry about TSA taking it away, so you can take a full size container, put that in there. Um, Full-size sandwiches, salads. You can really get creative with what you put in your Tupperware as well. And if you have that cooler bag, the sky's the limit when it comes to what you can pack for these road trips. So I think the number one piece of advice is just plan ahead. Understand that you need to eat. You're going to get hungry on this road trip. So why not pack a feast of plant-based options for that car ride?
I agree. That is always going to be the best option. But let's say that you're just frazzled, your nerves are shot, you're afraid, you're anxious, and you just leave the bag that you packed at home, or you don't even have time to pack one. And now you're on the road and you don't have it with you. What do you do?
Great question. So my go-tos are places where I can customize my meals. So if I'm on the road, I don't have my pre-planned snacks and meals, I'll go to somewhere like Chipotle, and I'll go and I'll customize my meal. I'll get some brown rice. I'll get a bean of some sort, pinto, black beans. I'll get all the sauteed roasted veggies, and I'll put that in here, and I'll just make a nice bowl that'll keep me full for a long time. So I love those places that you can customize your meals.
Yeah, I like that too. And I think that if you're just somewhere where there doesn't seem to be a restaurant like that that's available to you, pop into a gas station, pop into a 7-Eleven, something like that, and then just get an apple or a banana, something like that, and then maybe some nuts and, eat those two things together. I call that like a poor man's trail mix, because if you take a bite of an apple and then you eat some almonds or peanuts or whatever with that, walnuts, whatever the case may be, it actually tastes pretty daggone good. One of my favorite combinations in the entire world is a banana and almonds. I will eat those together a lot, and it is like phenomenal and quite filling too. And you can definitely do that on the cheap. It's certainly going to be less expensive than going to a restaurant. So, and the good news there, Xavier, is that in my experience, you can find an apple, banana, any kind of fruit pretty much at any kind of convenience store out there. So luckily, I think that there's always something. It may not be the something that you're looking for, but there's always something for you that you can keep it healthy and keep it, plant-based,
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more.
All right, my friend. Well, look, I wish you all the best for a very happy holiday season to you and yours, and look forward to working more with you in the new year.
Thank you.
All right. And congrats on the survey. I know that was a lot of work, my friend. And I want to thank you guys for being here all year long with us. Programming note, this is actually going to be the final Exam Room Live of 2024. We're going to be taking 2 weeks off and then coming back fresh in the new year with a big week of programs. We've got Dr. Neil Barnard kicking us off with How to Lose Weight on January 1st. January 2nd, we're going to be talking with the amazing life-saving doctor, Dr. Steve Loam, about how to lower blood pressure. Then we're going to follow that up with a separate episode on how to lower cholesterol naturally. You might say, well, how to lose weight, how to lower blood pressure, how to lower cholesterol. Aren't those things that you guys have talked about on the show before? Indeed, they are, but we've got some brand new information to share with you. And also, because it's a new year, this is the time of year when people who ordinarily wouldn't be watching the Exam Room podcast or be considering eating a plant-based diet, these are the times when people are open to receiving new types of information. And so we want to present it to as wide of an audience as possible, because if you're watching this, you know the power that diet can play. And so we want to reach as many people as possible. So taking this break, and we're going to come back in the new year, January 1st through the 8th, we're going to have new episodes every single weekday. And then it'll culminate January 8th with a live episode with our good friend, Dr. Will Bulsiewicz. And we're going to get your microbiome back on track for 2025. So listen, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for an extraordinary year here on the show. It has been a banner year, and I cannot tell you how much I appreciate you raising your health IQ with us week in and week out. And I want to wish you and yours a very, very Merry Christmas and a happy holiday season, no matter what holiday it is that you are celebrating. And for everybody here at the Physicians Committee, I am the weight loss champion, Chuck Carroll. We will talk to you again in 2025. But until then, keep it plant-based.